Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome to the Watchalong. Obviously the screen has been on for a while, but I'm now finally here and we're ready to get going. 53 minutes on the clock around Singapore FP1. It is currently daytime for their local time, so it is going to be a pretty hot session for the drivers right now, and yeah, that's not going to be easy. First session of the weekend as well at a street circuit that is a temporary circuit, so they've built that up. It's going to be a very dusty circuit, not rubbered in. The grip will be pretty low. They're probably going to be struggling a little bit with that, so we could maybe see a few issues from a few drivers. Of course, in 2019 we saw Valtteri Bottas put it in the wall, unfortunately. That was, yeah, 2019, final few corners, I believe it was, exiting the tunnel section, which we don't have anymore. As you go through turn 14, you exit, and then you go through turn 15. There was a complete section where you'd go underneath a tunnel, but now it just goes straight to turn 16. And if I'm correct in saying, I believe turn 15 to 16 is DRS. I might be wrong, but yeah, we'll see. Looking at track time, it is currently 5:30, well, 5:40 for Singapore right now, so that's kind of gives you an idea of the time it will be around the circuit. And it's going to be not mega hot, because it will cool down compared to what it would have been, but it is still a very hot place, regardless of whether it's day or night, so they are going to be struggling quite a bit. The drivers right now, I want to see if I can see a few things on the data, but I think I'm just going to have to deal with it for now. Welcome back, Kevin Magnussen, though. After having a breakaway, they've put a few laps in already. They're currently P8 on the timing board, and they were having a few complaints right there. I think they were saying about the brakes, if I'm correct in saying. Getting past Sonoda there, and yeah, we'll see what Kevin Magnussen can do this weekend after having that breakaway from Baku, another very tight street circuit, which was incredibly dramatic. A very, very good race to watch, that's for sure. And we saw a few people have a few issues at the very end, and including the guy who's just gone and set the fastest lap time of the session by just under 1.5 tenths. That was Carlos Sainz along with Sergio Perez coming together and yeah, really making a great weekend. Pretty bad by the end of it, which is a shame to see for both of those guys, because they performed very well. But yeah, it's the way it goes, nothing you can do about it. And they've just got to try and learn and hope that it doesn't happen again around this circuit. Around this circuit, we had a phenomenal race last time around with, was it 4 cars in the battle until someone maybe crashed. But yeah, 4 cars in the battle for the lead, Norris included. If Norris can once again put that performance up there with the car that he's got underneath him, then I think he could probably have a pretty decent chance at winning this race over Oscar Piastri. Obviously, Oscar Piastri does now have a distance of this circuit under his belt, so he's now got a bit of experience and could catch up. Whether the McLaren will be the fastest car, however, we don't quite know. Verstappen went and set a P2, but Norris went and absolutely destroyed that on exactly the same tyre and went half a second quicker. It is the hard tyre, though, for Carlos Sainz, who is 8 tenths behind Lando Norris. Lots of people doing hards and mediums compared to what we saw back in Baku, with a lot of people doing mediums and soft tyre runnings, and they didn't really do too much hard tyre runnings and then run the hard in the race and complained. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing a lot of hard and medium tyre running. Of course, you've got a lot of braking zones, a lot of acceleration zones. The tyre wear, in my opinion, unless it's different in real life, according to the F1 gamers especially, is very, very high. And the tyre temperatures can be very high. So using a harder compound can really help deal with that temperature. Lots of drivers complaining of the very low grip. George Russell locking the fronts, I believe. Just not finding it easy to get the car stopped in certain places. If they can get themselves together, they should be good. Now, looking at the timings, we see Verstappen in P2. Looking at the history for Verstappen around this circuit, they've had a few difficult times. They've been on the podium a couple times, I think. If not, it definitely has been once. But still, they've really struggled over their time. Having, I don't know, I think they must have scored points surely in 22, but in 23, of course, the car was just on an absolute knife edge and it wasn't possible to really drive. So, last two Singapore Grand Prix for Max Verstappen have been very, very disappointing. Not disappointing is Alex Albon, who goes P4, so doing a good job. Still 9 tenths behind there on a hard tyre. It is FP1. You can't really judge anything on FP1. So I'm getting excited over nothing at the moment, but it's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's a bit of fun. This is a big weekend for Ricciardo, though. Daniel Ricciardo looking to possibly be dropped after this Grand Prix. I am slightly surprised at why they would replace him, or that they're thinking of replacing him. After Singapore, but yeah, it kind of makes sense to get Liam Lawson in the car and get some experience before they go into the next year, of course, which would be good. But still, I am surprised that they're going to just change a driver mid-season, but after all, it is the Red Bull Academy, so I shouldn't be too surprised. But yeah, we'll see. Lance Stroll just gone and set a very nice P3, 2 tenths behind, but on the hard tyre, the track is getting warmer and rubbering in, so that is good. I say the track surface is getting a bit better. That's Ocon to P9. Alpine trying to see if they can get their way up the order, but having problems a lot last weekend, and they might come into this weekend. A very difficult circuit is going to be even harder to deal with. Gasly just goes and beats him by a very small margin, just over half a tenth there. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Daniel Ricciardo is just going to have to give it his all. He said that his aim is to put it on the podium, which is understandable if you want to keep your seat within Formula 1. And I'm sure he'll have a great opportunity to do that. He won't, but maybe he will. You know, if there's going to be a circuit for unpredictability and getting yourself on the podium, this is probably the one to do it. It's not quite as tight as Monaco, so that it is possible to overtake, and because it's slightly possible to overtake, then incidents are much more likely. There's 100% safety car rate at this circuit in the past, since its start in 2008, so it's probably going to be a safety car. If you were to be in the bookies this weekend, make sure you bet on the safety car coming out, because it's going to be very likely and you'll get some winnings. We're also going slowly on track there. I think he's just doing a cool down lap. I don't think he'll impede Tsunoda, although Tsunoda is going quite slowly, so he's just going to take the lead into turn 16 and 17 anyway. Just getting a confirmation that Perez has had a bit of a spin, unfortunately. He gets the car back the right way round and is good to go. So you see it on the screen. Spinning on the exit of 16 and 17. Hopefully the other cars haven't had too much of a problem, but they will have had to probably lift. Perez going to go in the pit lane because of that, or is he going to stay out? He actually stays out, which is interesting. flat spot of the tyres maybe, but no, just continues and hopes that it's all fine. Leclerc and Sainz to P2 and 3 now. Norris has set an improvement lap time, I believe. Yeah, 8 tenths. But he's in the pit lane at the moment. So is Verstappen, so is Hamilton, so is Magnussen. Verstappen has been complaining about understeer, it seems. So once again, that Red Bull struggling, not only this season, but around this circuit, is going to be very, very difficult. So I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think the Red Bulls are going to be too quick this weekend. Sergio Perez could definitely be quicker, a former race winner around here. Max Verstappen never winning a race, but his teammate does have a victory. Of course, Carlos Sainz also got that one last year with a P4. More lap times set as Russell goes to P2 momentarily, then demoted by Leclerc, who goes once again faster by just under a tenth of a second. They catch up to Norris, half a second between the top McLaren right now. Piastri all the way 8 seconds behind their teammate right now on the lap times, so getting some very slow runnings in. Maybe because they had to lift for Perez, that was quite possible. I don't know what they would have done now. Would this lap be competitive? No, they're backing off already. So if they want to set some sort of lap time that's kind of good for us to actually look at, then I think it's going to have to be the next lap, and it will be on the hard tyre. It will be a fresh hard tyre though, so that will be good to see. Now the track is getting more rubbered in throughout the session. 42 minutes on the clock for these drivers. Colapinto and Bottas very close on track, but Colapinto seems to be going much quicker as they will go past Ricciardo, who I believe is on pit exit right now. Piastri will start another lap. Hopefully they can get this one in, because I want to see where they go according to their teammate, and if they have the ability to get remotely close. Obviously, as I said, the track is rubbering in, so the circuit is only going to get quicker right now, but Lando Norris is on a medium tyre compared to Oscar Piastri's hard tyre, so it will be interesting to see where this positions them. Will they be at the top of the hard tyre runners from P2 to P6, or is it going to be all the way to the top of the session for them? Alright, let's get back to it. Sorry for the short delay. 14 minutes exactly now on the clock as the session starts to finish up. I just got confirmation that actually the FP1 session used to be a lot earlier. So now it is later. It's more representative for the teams. So they get more running time kind of closer to what it would be for the race, so it's going to be a lot easier for the teams to gauge, and they can learn a bit more, which will be interesting for sure. Now we've got Oscar Piastri, who is going P14, so they've set a lap time that's a little bit more competitive. Still quite new tyres, not really going up to the top of the times yet, just trying to bleed the car in, get some more grip in that car. So I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine and be able to find their way further up the order soon, but 1.6 seconds away from their teammate. The Ferraris are going very quick right now. They just went P2 of Carlos Sainz and now P1 with Charles Leclerc, who was absolutely on fire in Baku with the pace. Unfortunately didn't convert it into a victory in the end, but was the fastest man on track, I think, for the majority of the weekend. Of course, with pole position. Street circuits just seem to be something that they like a lot. They're very good at qualifying regardless, so when it comes to good at qualifying and just having big hooners, they can absolutely send it around the circuit. So yeah, it's a very, very good thing for Charles Leclerc when the walls are close by, because no one else sends it just quite like him, as we saw a few times in the past in the Monaco chicane, the final chicane on the circuit, and they sent it a little bit too hard a few times and broke their suspension. I think that was in 2021, especially. Was it 2021? I think it was 2021, and obviously they had a pretty big disappointment in that they had to retire their car at the end of that. Alright. Not many people out on circuit now. All going into the pit lane. Getting some changes. Lots of laps already run by quite a few teams as we are approaching the halfway mark of the session. 11 laps is the most by Gasly, Ocon and Carlos Sainz. The least laps run, it looks like a 6 laps from Piastri, who makes that 7 up to P9 in the meantime as well. 6 laps for Ricciardo. Ocon goes and puts it on 12 laps as well, so Gasly is going to be looking to try and do that as well. No, they go into the pit lane. We'll be right back. Alright, Oscar Piastri has been told to go into the pit lane to go and put the soft tyre on. Lando Norris is on his way out of the pit lane putting the soft tyre on, so both McLarens on very, very similar practice simulations right now. That being said, of course, Norris started on the medium, whereas Oscar Piastri is now going to be starting on the hard tyre. Or did start on the hard tyre, now going to go to the softs, and they're going to look to try and top the times quite early on, to be honest. The circuit has been rubbered in a little bit, but not massively. So yeah, it is an interesting one for sure. Now, just looking at the current times, the best sectors right now for Charles Leclerc in sector 1 are 27.380. At 39.030 in Sector 2, also for Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris is best in Sector 3 with a 26.279. Charles Leclerc is very close to that in that final sector. Lando Norris not very close to Charles Leclerc's best sector in the second sector. And also not very close at all to Charles Leclerc's first sector best time. So the McLaren looking to try and destroy that lap time in a few moments. We've got Verstappen and Hamilton also on the soft tyres, so there must be something that a mere mortal of an amateur engineer can't really figure out why they're all on the soft tyres right now. So, and I'm going to just try and stop talking and find my words. They're all over the place. Anyway, we're good to go, and now the soft tyres are going to be run. Lando Norris starts the lap, and we'll see what they can do. They're going to be going very quick, I'm sure, as they'll go through the first sector. And they do go purple through that first sector. We are slightly behind, so we'll see that in a second. Saying that Lando Norris is a little bit on the limit in the practice session already, so putting the car on a bit of an edge. FP1, do you want to be doing that? I mean, it's probably the one to do it at. You don't want to be not running later on when it is kind of more of an accurate time zone for the race, but also, of course, tomorrow you want to be running closer to the qualifying session. So if you are going to crash, it is the session to do it. Ricciardo up to P5 as they go once again around the circuit. But we want to watch how Lando Norris goes, because they're going to be setting their soft tyre runners. They go purple in the first, second sector, and they will likely be doing that for the third sector as well. Verstappen starts a lap. Hamilton will be looking to start a lap. They start their lap as Lando Norris comes around the final corner. And what's it going to be for the British driver? It's going to be provisional pole in the practice session. That's half a second advantage over Charles Leclerc, who's on the hards. So half a second, is that good or not? I'm not sure. It's not bad, but it is an interesting gap, because what we saw compared to the mediums and the hards, there was a kind of similar gap. So maybe that isn't too representative. Maybe it is quite good. Well, we were told that Lando Norris has been absolutely pushing it through a few corners, maybe pushed it a little bit too far and lost some time. Maybe Leclerc was absolutely pushing it as well and didn't lose time. So we'll see. We'll see. Now more cars are out on circuit. Magnussen, both Saubers, Alex Albon also on their way out. We wait to see what Verstappen and Hamilton can do. They're not going purple in any sector so far. Continuing, Hamilton not going fastest in sector 2, but we'll go to sector 3 and the final sector for Max Verstappen and see what lap time they can set. Can they go P2, or is it going to be behind the hard tyre runners of Leclerc? It is going to be P2, and it is going to be 2/10 behind Lando Norris. Hamilton goes across the line at the final corner as well, and it's going to be a P3. Interesting, half a second, only marginally ahead of Charles Leclerc on the hard tyre, and Max Verstappen 3/10 ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So that's an interesting one. I didn't expect that. They still go purple in the last sector, so going pretty quickly. Just maybe making a mistake or something in that middle sector, it looks like. Yeah, that's quite a big gap compared to where Verstappen is. So I think that middle sector may have messed Lewis Hamilton up a little bit there. A very busy circuit now, lots of people on their way out. More people out than they are in. Alright. Now, DRS zones. I want to see if I can have a look at where those DRS zones are. And I believe they must be. Yeah, so there's one there. Two, in the normal places. There's the little DRS section as they go into turn 14. And then there is now the new DRS straight as they go into 16. So, not in the F1 game that we're used to. But, It is going to be an interesting one. It will help people overtake. Was that a DRS straight down there last year? I had a feeling it wasn't, but maybe I'm wrong. I think I must be wrong. But 4 DRS straights is usually unheard of. Turn 14, probably not going to see much overtaking anyway. As it is such a short straight, it's more of just a, here you go, have a DRS straight to gain back the time you may have lost in the corners as the dirty air, of course. But, yeah, now we get a decent straight. Every DRS straight, except from the start-finish straight, has a little bit of a kink in it. So, of course, the kind of first DRS straight after the start-finish straight has a right kink, and another right kink for the second one, and then for or for the third one really, and then for the final one on the lap there is another left kink. So gotta be careful with how they move the car. They don't want to jolt it to try and overtake another car whilst going around a left-hander, of course. So with a rear wing open, that could be catastrophic. And I assume these guys will be using some pretty high downforce. And with high downforce comes big wings. Pretty big wings, sorry. With big wings comes high downforce. And also comes powerful DRS. Because when you open that wing, it all of a sudden means that there's a lot more of a difference compared to a full front wing being open. Now, lots of people are on the softs, making a difference to the timing sheets, seeing what they can get done in the session here. Looking for this more kind of qualifying vibe. Now, I just want to quickly make sure we're all good to go in a few scenarios. That's good. And that is exactly what we want. Alright. We carry on. Carlos Sainz setting a lap time, and they go to P2. 32.166. As Charles Leclerc is not happy with their driving right now, complaining about what they've done. They're not happy with the lap. They're saying that it's a word that I can't really say. So yeah, not good at all. 3 tenths behind, so they can go a lot quicker, I'd assume. As you can see, the top 13 all on the softs. In the pit lane is Ricciardo, who was on that hard, so I assume they're probably going to be on their way out of the pit lane on a set of softs at some point soon. Right now, the top 10 are all within 1 second of one another, so they are definitely starting to push a little bit more. As I said again, it's not representative, it's FP1, but we can get excited over nothing if we want to. Verstappen into the pit lane after setting their lap time. I believe they're the first driver to be in the pit lane. After setting a lap. I don't know who that is last on the order. Gasly, I believe. So Gasly is on track, it says. This could be Piastri up to P7 as they improve. The race winner from the last season. Last race. Alright. Should be good. And we're all sorted. Alright. Just looking at the circuit right now. track time obviously travels on, the sun starts to go down, and we will start to see the sun set, which is going to make things a lot better for the teams, as we said about earlier on. Might even get a few lights on at the end of the session around the circuit, the floodlights, to make things easier to see, if they're not already on actually. Doesn't look like they're on just yet, but the sun is going down and it's going to be difficult to see the circuit in certain areas. The Alpines going on a push lap. I say the Alpines, I say Gasly is going on a push lap. Ocon is behind a bit of traffic at the moment, but on their way out to go and set a lap as fast as they possibly can. As Gasly moves out the way of the Haas, I believe that was, and goes around the final, into the final sector I should say. Final DRS straight right here, which is going to be an interesting one for sure. I can't wait to see some drivers go side by side into that braking zone, and then immediately get another 2 braking zones. All of a sudden this circuit is looking a little bit of like a possible DRS train kind of circuit. If you can get in a DRS train, you might be quite alright to break away from any cars behind, because it could be impossible to actually catch up with consistently around the circuit DRS zones coming up. Gasly went and set that lap time, and they go to P11 as they do improve. Unless they're already in P11, I can't quite remember. Of course, a lot of cars running their special liveries. You've got McLaren, Mercedes, you've got VCarb. I think that's it. I may be wrong, but with VCarb using the denim livery, which is an interesting one, it looks alright. It's just kind of surprised me a little bit on why it is what it is. Of course, Mercedes doing the obvious Petronas colours on their car, and McLaren doing a classic style livery, still with the orange colours instead of a more red colour, because they can't afford to be seen as a tobacco sponsor on the car, but they do use the white middle section with the kind of similar pattern, at least, just to pay tribute to their former years, where they were last winning lots of constructors and drivers championships with a pretty dominant team at the time. Of course, they did go and win it in 98 and 99 for drivers at least. I think it was 98 for the constructors as well. But that was a time where they did have a lot of dominance, of course, with Senna and Prost. Anyway, enough of that. We've got 20 minutes on the clock. Lando Norris sets the current fastest lap with 0.3 margin to Carlos Sainz. Tsunoda in P3, all on the soft tyres. Currently, Lando Norris is in the pit lane, still said to have got the soft tyre on, so if they do come out, they'll be on an old set of softs. Carlos Sainz is out on an old set of softs right now, so is Charles Leclerc, whereas the other cars around them are kind of on fresh sets. That being said, Verstappen actually is on an old set of softs as well. Leclerc goes P2 with a fastest middle sector. Alright. We're back. And we're ready to go. For the final 18 minutes of the session. A little bit like having a Q1 session in our hands. Or on our hands. In our hands if you want it to be. Verstappen and Perez out on track setting fast lap times. Once again, scrub tyres for Verstappen. Fresh tyres though for Sergio Perez. Street circuit, he should be able to do quite well. He's a few corners behind Verstappen right now. There are a few cars in between Verstappen and Perez. They will pass Leclerc down the little straight. May have got a little bit of a toe, but probably not much, if at all. But Verstappen into the final few corners now, and they will try and make it a top 3, I reckon, if they can. Not going purple in the middle sector. They do go purple in the final sector, though. And they find an improvement, and they do make it 3rd place. Sergio Perez is not purple, or not going faster in the middle sector, and has backed off in the 3rd sector right there, despite being on a fresh tyre. Then makes it straight into the pit lane. And I assume they're maybe going to try and do this at another point, as they won't have used the tyres too much. Carlos Sainz goes across the line to P3 to demote Max Verstappen, with 1/10 behind Lando Norris right now. Lando's still in the pit lane. Lance Stroll in the meantime up to P14. So, absolutely cooking. Oh, so Fernando Alonso. He has had a few issues there, almost losing the car a second time, I believe, unless that was a replay of the time earlier that we just saw. But accidentally pressing the pit lane button to go into the pit lane, as they made a bit of a mistake. As they were trying to catch the car, they just completely spammed all the buttons on the wheel. Sergio Perez is furious with the Williams of Alex Albon right there, who messed up his lap, he says. Really not happy with his body language being quite aggressive. So that's why they didn't set that lap time in the end. Alright. I'm just seeing what's going on at the circuit right now. Everyone just either going into the pit lane or setting laps. That's the way it goes in practice. Fastest last sector for Charles Leclerc on that last lap for them. And they go again. They didn't improve. Maybe they did. I don't think they did improve. Maybe they did. Lando Norris though on the medium tyre right now. So in theory shouldn't be able to go faster than Charles Leclerc. But they are not too far behind at the moment. Still improve it, or still setting lap times. 7 lap old medium tyres, scrub tyres. They're going to get a big old toe from Lewis Hamilton as they head to the first corner, maybe looking for some dirty air to get kind of a race simulation possibly. If they can try and push with that, of course. Yuki Tsunoda makes their way out of the pit lane on a set of old medium tyres. Charles Leclerc tops the times, as they are on some pretty good form right now. Would you say that they've been at their best recently? I'm not sure. But, yeah, he's doing everything right now to make us believe such a thing. Just does he have the car to put the results in? Well, the last 2 races, yes. But over the whole season, it's been a little bit more of a different story. They are, in theory, in a chance to possibly win the driver's title. Ferrari definitely can have a look at taking the constructors. But the drivers, it would have been almost possible. I think they do now have to score 12 points over Max Verstappen every race until the end to actually have a chance. Which, although didn't seem impossible before the final few laps with the crash at Baku, with that crash at Baku, it just made it very, very difficult. So, yeah, running out of races to do such a thing, as stated, but still not exactly impossible. If Max Verstappen was to have a really bad race around this circuit, as they've had a few times in recent times, then maybe Charles Leclerc could give it a shot, and they seem to be very quick. Could they look at their second win in 3 races? They would then make that 3 wins throughout the season, which would be pretty impressive. I think it's 3 wins. Got a lot of people getting impeded in these late stages of the session, as everybody's trying to position their cars on track, go for cool-down runs to get their final laps out in the session, 11 minutes on the clock. And it does mean a lot of people get in the way of each other. Sergio Perez, I think, hoping to get a lap time in at some point, currently sitting P13. Top 12 are all within 1 second at the moment. Sergio Perez very close to that top 12. But Tsunoda not happy with a moment of impeding. On the previous lap. Lando Norris crosses the line. Just setting laps right now on that medium tyre, going for a bit of a race simulation, I assume, which is actually a very good idea as you get closer to the kind of track time of when the race will be. I'm going to see if I can try and reword that. The race will be later on in the evening, so as the time goes on, it gets a bit more accurate to how that will feel. The lights start to come on around Singapore, the floodlights, and light that circuit up. So now they set these lap times, it will be great to give a bit of a race simulation. That's what I mean. I didn't really explain it too much better, to be honest. Looking at the Drivers' Championship, if I'm saying that Charles Leclerc could maybe win, well, Piastri in theory could win. I think, was it said the top 4, the top 5, if at Baku, if that was to happen every single race until the end, I believe Piastri could win, unless that's an old statistic from a previous race. I believe that is the case. Would that be a viable option? Lando Norris, of course, having that qualifying issue, if they can't keep the composure, then maybe Piastri would be the one to try and challenge, which would be a hell of a switch up, and it would definitely be very devastating for the Lando fans, of course. Lewis Hamilton complaining about understeer, not happy with the car at the moment, as even though the circuit is gripped up a lot from earlier on, it is still very loose. But of course, they will be getting faster, and when we get to FP2 it is going to be nice and quick. Humidity 63%. Must be so difficult in that car right now. Piastri's made a bit of contact with the wall, as lots of cars are pushing quite a lot this session. But still, currently sits P6, setting some decent lap times throughout the session. Just trying to see where they may have hit that wall. And the tyre is a little bit scraped. On the right hand side you can see the wheel rims actually are quite dodgy. He's gone into the pit lane just to double check if he's good to go, and then gone straight back out. They haven't even put him in the box after they've made contact with the wall right there. They've gone into the wall in an interesting part of the circuit. That is turn 10, well, as you exit turn 10 towards turn 11, they've hit the wall on the right hand side. Which you don't see every day. Just pushing the limit, of course. All the cars really putting it to the very edge at this stage, which I'm going to be honest, I'm very surprised that we haven't had any red flags. Or at least any yellow flags. We've only had really one or two. Perez, of course, spinning earlier on. I don't know if maybe, was it Carlos Sainz had an issue as well even before that? I'm not sure. But yeah, we haven't really had any incidents in this practice session, as everyone's being quite tentative. We maybe see a red flag in FP2 as people start to get a bit more confident with the car and then find the limit and maybe go over the limit of grip. Magnussen currently P17 after having a weekend out of the car, still faster than their teammate, however, who is in dead last place at the moment. So Haas maybe not having the best of starts to the weekend. 6 minutes on the clock. They haven't got much more time left in this session to try and make a difference. But we'll see how it goes. Currently lots of people out on track. Everyone is out on track to set laps in these final few moments, as the circuit will be at its peak for this session at least. Of course, for pace, it will be a little bit better for simulation later on, but it will cool down as the cars don't run on it for a while. We don't have any support series, I believe, around this circuit. So it is just pure F1 at the moment. And we, of course, got a few changes in the order right there as people cross the line. I think, was that Verstappen going up, or am I absolutely missing out right there on the times? That is Lance Stroll into the pit lane. So now we have 19 cars out on track right now. Gone to see if you can find Adrian Newey early on in the pit lane, but no, he's not. Never mind, it says that Lance Stroll is still out on circuit. It just said that he was in pit lane for a moment there. My bad, I didn't really realise that. Comparing Hamilton and Colapinto on the timing sheets right now, wouldn't have really expected that. But they're very close, of course, P11 and P12 right now. Whether that'll be the same for the weekend, of course, both Williams being very quick last weekend and actually scoring some phenomenal points. Hamilton having engine penalties and starting a lot further back was only just able to get a few points at the end of that session. I think he was right behind Colapinto, if not a position, an extra position behind as well. But yeah, we'll see what that Williams can do this weekend. Is it going to be the fifth fastest car? Is it going to be able to get its way up the points a little bit more if other drivers have mistakes? And other drivers are probably going to have mistakes further up the order. 3 minutes on the clock as everybody now starts to finish their session. We've got Gasly on the 11 lap old set of soft tyres. I wanted to say they're fresh, but they're not really. The freshest soft tyre right now is Ricciardo on 6 laps. Lots of other cars just on old tyres, so we're not going to see any improvements. We're just going to see a few drivers follow closely. Right now you can see Leclerc and Sainz kind of doing a bit of a dirty air run, it looks like, unless it is just unfortunate timing between the two drivers, but they are very close to one another. We've also got Ricciardo and Albon very close to one another as well, maybe looking for a similar situation mutually, or just accidentally being sat behind that car and then just taking the opportunity. The Saubers also doing a kind of similar thing, quite close to one another on circuit right now. Hamilton not happy. Gonna have to have a look at some things after the session. I didn't quite get to hear what that was, but yeah, we'll see what they can do in the second session. They didn't seem to be happy throughout so far. So an FP2 session will be useful for them. So they're having traction issues, it seems like. So yeah, they're hoping to get that sorted for FP2, and we'll see if they can set more competitive lap times. Anyway, we continue to see Leclerc and Sainz follow very closely. I think this is very good, actually. Obviously now Leclerc backing off, but they're really getting some good idea of how it might go this weekend. As we saw around Singapore last season, the cars could possibly be following closely, and that could go to the end of the race in a very competitive fashion. And of course we also saw that in Baku with lots of cars very close to one another throughout a lot of the race. It's a new era of Formula One. In previous times we would see everybody just kind of break away from one another, save the tyres, and then that'll be it. Maybe you'll see an overtake or something, but now it kind of leans towards more of an esports vibe, more of a Formula E vibe, as everyone starts to bunch up in performance and everyone follows each other closely, pushing to the limit. It's all backing off, as we saw around here. For Carlos Sainz backed up the pack. No one really wanted to overtake until, or no one could overtake because they're planning it well, but if they did want to overtake, they may not have wanted to, so they could get the DRS, of course, and make that overtake, which they never were able to do, of course, for Lando Norris. But Lando Norris was helped by Carlos Sainz by being behind in the DRS, of course, so they basically made it very difficult for Hamilton or Russell to make a move. Russell staying ahead of Hamilton in that race and crashing into the wall, taking an opportunity away from Hamilton to make that move on Lando Norris. He didn't know what was going to happen though, so you can't really blame him for it. As we've got a Sauber going off the circuit. Alright, that's the session done. No more time left on the clock, as everyone will complete it. Leclerc finishes the lap first, and that will be that done. And as I said before, no one is likely to improve at the end of this session. So we will let everyone cross the line just in case someone found an absolute banger of a lap on a 20 lap old hard tyre. It's not going to happen. But yeah, we'll wait for the session to be done, and then we'll go, and we'll be back later on for the FP2 session, which is going to be a lot more representative, of course, for time-wise, but also timing-wise, for lap times. And it may see a few issues as the drivers try and get a bit more confident, as Verstappen goes over, is that a drain cover? I'm not sure. But was definitely riding over something which made their car jump up a little bit. Magnussen, Colapinto across the line. That's their session done. We've just got Carlos Sainz, Ricciardo, Albon, Alonso to set lap times now as Alonso, Albon, Ricciardo and Sainz will come around the final corners. All very close to one another to finish that session. As you see, Carlos Sainz completes the grid. And they'll go to their practice starts at the end. I assume they're allowed to do that this session. They'll all bunch up and then get ready to do that. And then go around one more time again until they go into the pit lane. Leclerc tops the times, Norris in P2, then we've got Carlos Sainz, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Piastri, followed by Ricciardo, Albon, Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon in P10 right there. Mercedes not being up in the top 10 for the first practice session, having a few issues, but I think they'll be able to get that under control for FP2. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you can join us there. We'll see you in a few moments' time.